yes, and you say, I hate that person. And
Sorry.
then you are like,
Go ahead.
and then you are like, yeah, I hate everybody because do this and this and this. And then it's like, this is your shadow, yes, but you actually don't know that it's your shadow projecting that. So then you go directly to that topic and work with that spot. And you ask, what does it mean about me? Yes, that I hate that person. So it's a way to approach directly to something that you are negative. I don't know if if I understand well, but it's how I've been working with the shadow, and works a lot for me, because if you have resentment towards someone, or you are like, it might be the shadow there. Yes, it might be because you are having fear or sad or something, an emotion. I don't know if it's a question of the person.
Well, thanks, Claudia, because maybe we should make sure everybody does understand how to do basic shadow work. But I just want to check with Ina. I thought your question was that there was a process he introduced in that meeting, and that's what I wasn't there for. I didn't see the recording yet. Shadow work, I'm happy to share, but if he taught
does
a process, anybody know who's been through basic training? And
yeah, I do shadow work in my own work with clients. I'm familiar with that.
But I mean,
but this process, yeah, that's the process actually I copied in the chat.
Okay.
That is the process that he went through.
Okay, great. So this is what's here, the spot the shadow.
Well, at least that is the notes that
cover the hidden emotions and energies. Okay, good. So you guys should be able to copy that if you want it saved into your computer, to make your own notes, etc. And I'm actually going to do that right now real quick, just so I have a copy of it. Whoops, that ain't it, kid. Why doesn't mine copy when I'm dealing with the chat? Oh, well.
So I did this process on, oh, sorry.
Hold on just a second. Jeff, what did you say?
It's posted on the Circle app that everybody can see. Just did it this afternoon.
Oh, good. Okay, I didn't see that either. Okay, so I'm going to take just a second to read over this, but Claudia, if you needed to say something else, you can.
And this is from Scott, but I made some notes in between.
Okay. So it sounds like using re-owning. I can be aggressive, for instance, then you can rev up a rapid fire from there and find the command. Okay. And discover any hidden emotions behind the energy of number 2 above. Fear. Okay. So, why don't you, if you haven't already, have a look at what's in the chat, and then if you still have a question about it, you can ask it in this space, and I'll do my best. We'll maybe collectively do it, since I didn't see the presentation.
Yeah, I was there on Saturday, and because I was stuck in a triggering situation, and couldn't really pinpoint commands. So I did this process, and I'm still getting stuck. So I was wondering, if I'm missing something, but yeah, maybe I just need to get more skillful on this process before asking more questions.
Well, if you're clear on where you're getting stuck, if you're open to sharing, no pressure. If maybe, as I'm hearing you, or even others in this group, I might be able to help zero in on getting you unstuck, or finding what the command is, so you can keep moving into the next tool that's necessary. But it's up to you how you want to do this.
Sure, I could do that.
Okay. So of these that are in the chat, like, is it step 2, step 3, somewhere, step 4, I guess there's a 4th there, that's getting you triggered or getting you stuck? Sorry.
Yeah, it's mostly with finding the commands.
Okay, so it's step 2, find the command area.
Yeah, step 2. I can find the hidden emotions
So
underneath.
what's the shadow? If you could name the shadow aspect you were working on, is there like, is it angry people, or, you know, is it weakness, neediness, something like that? Or you can describe what you were working on if it was a particular person.
Yeah, let me see where because I made all kinds of notes about it. I was just, because I was clicking away, I lost my notes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, here. Yeah, it's a situation with my oldest son who has a disability. He can randomly get very hysterical, you say in English.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes into complete hysteria, and which usually I can hold space for him, but sometimes, and this happened like last Friday. That's why on Saturday I wanted to do this process, and I've been working on it. So it's this this craziness, the chaos, and so I did a boomerang to it. That I can't help him. I'm trapped in chaos. I need help. I'm alone. I can't do this anymore. Those are stories that have come up. I'm tired of walking on eggshells, waiting for the next explosion, those kind of things. And so, so judgment, so things that is basically the shadow, is like he can be so mean, vengeful, ruthless, hurtful.
So those are his behaviors that
are basically, that's my shadow side, right?
Okay.
And so in owning that, there was really resistance to, like, I can be ruthless, like, no, I don't want to be ruthless. I can be hurtful. And the thing that I struggle with is I feel like there is a compulsion that I have to prove that I am safe. And I notice that whenever that comes in, that compulsion, it triggers a rage inside of me.
Wait, hold on. So you said that when you stumble across the compulsion to stay safe,
not to prove that I am safe. Because when he gets hysteric, he can be, very wild and hurtful to himself and to his brother.
Okay.
And so I try to contain it. And then he starts to scream more that I'm unsafe. And so if I'm just letting him be, then it's okay. But when I feel a compulsion to prove that I am safe, that's when I notice that I'm building up anger inside of me, which is what I am, which is what I'm repressing, actually.
Well, what I would need to know is, do you mean I'm a safe person to them, or do you mean you're actually safe versus threatened? What are we talking?
A safe person for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you're receiving from him that you're not a safe person, it brings up this rage in you. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And the need to prove that I am a safe person, which is, of course, the opposite than what the rage is saying inside of me.
Yeah. It's a nice little repression conundrum to find yourself in. I'm sorry to say. There's a lot here, though. And so it'll be really nice to work with it. So hold on, let me just make a note. Okay. So first of all, you said something that we just did a drive-by, and I'd like to go back and just pause there for a second. So you said step 2, the traits are he's mean, vengeful, hurtful. Okay, so I can be mean, vengeful, hurtful, and you gotta know I can't, right?
Yeah.
So right there, no, I can't. So right there is the command. I just want to point this out because you said you were having trouble finding the commands. So do you see?
So I can't, or I don't want to.
Well, I would listen to what the energy in the body is saying. So when we're finding a command, it's not up to us. It's what the energy is already saying
Yeah.
in the body. Yeah.
So my body says, yes, I can be ruthless. And there are times that I have been unsafe long time ago, like pre-kids, like that's a long time ago.
That's
my
great.
20s.
Yeah.
And so there is like, I can, but I don't want to.
Yeah. Okay. I see.
That's what the energy is saying.
Yeah. So that the reowning is seeing that you have done that before. So that's part of the reowning of the process. That's great. Still, nonetheless, I can express that way. I can be ruthless. I can be vengeful. I can be mean. Body says what? Does it say, no, I can't? Or does it?
Let me check in. No, can't.
Okay. Hang on for just a second. I have to make an adjustment here. Okay. I don't know how that's going to go. Okay. So, right there, you said I can't, right? The body's saying I can't.
Yeah.
And where do you notice that I can't?
Oh, in my chest and in my neck, like in my throat area. There's a strong constriction.
Yeah. So right in
Yeah,
there.
it's tightness. Yeah.
Just start sending that in for a minute. I can't.
Can't.
Notice what the energy does as you meet it with what it's already saying. Does it get tighter? Does it push back? Does it constrict more? Does it start to relax?
Yeah, it gets a little bit more intense.
Yeah, this is normal. You know that you're on top of it when it's reacting with more intensity. And as we work with these tools skillfully, it usually when it might take some finessing, but it can start to relax, but usually it pushes back first.
Okay, so just stay with it.
Yeah, and just repeat a little bit longer and let's just hang out together. No big deal.
Okay.
I can't. I want you to notice if you're doing this in the spirit of trying to get rid of this or trying to make this break apart. And if you
just from awareness.
Okay, good. Because if you're trying to get this to go away, we want to come from a place of acceptance of like, I'm not trying to change this. Maybe even, can I make this stay? And keep repeating, I can't.
It's moving to my jaw, really.
Movement is good. Just follow it wherever it goes.
Yeah.
Is it still strong?
Oof.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I hear that. Keep going. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, good.
It's almost midnight here, so that's why I kept it.
Oh, I thought a big release of energy just happened.
No, it is. No, it is. There's a lot of energy moving.
Okay, good. Stay with it. I can't a little bit longer.
I can't.
Now I want you to stack in. No, I can be ruthless. I can let myself be mean and vengeful. And then if the body's like, no, if that jaw fights back or wherever it is, go right back into the I can't.
I can be mean and vengeful.
What happens when you say that?
There's a lot of sadness coming.
Okay, so let's just welcome that. Let that sadness be here and even meet it with I feel sad or I'm sad.
I'm sad.
Yeah.
And they're kind of coming up pictures of situations where I make mistakes or where I
Yeah.
snapped at my kids, of course.
Yeah. Stay with the words, I'm sad, and let that Velcro, these are layers of images and words, Velcro, right? Coming forward.
Yeah.
Let them come and just keep repeating, meeting that sadness with the words. I feel sad.
I'm sad.
Total permission to fully feel this sadness too. If you need to stop repeating and just feel it, let yourself feel it.
It's moving.
Okay, good. You're doing great.
There's some space opening up in my chest.
Good. Just keep allowing.
And notice there is some sensations coming in at my stomach. It feels like there is some shame.
Okay, so this could be that part 3, discovering hidden emotions, but we didn't even have to go looking for it. Let's just go right in there and connect with that. And let's just try, and I'm not ashamed, and see if it's like, oh, yes, I am. Let's see what that is.
I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed. Ugh.
Yeah, does the stomach say to the contrary, or what happens?
Oh, there is, yeah, it feels like heavy, dense energy.
Okay. Does it feel like it's not certain that it's shame, but it's just dense energy?
No, it is shame.
Okay.
I recognize this.
All right, what I want you to do is do the same thing you were doing with the sadness. Meet that shame in the stomach or wherever it is now with itself, with the words, just connecting the mind body. I feel ashamed, or I'm ashamed. And just meet that a little bit.
Just mirroring. Okay.
Yeah, just a little bit more, just because we want to kind of churn the waters up, if they'll let us, by mirroring back to itself.
Okay. I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed. 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 I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed.
Yeah. I'm going to have you stack in. It's okay to fully feel this shame and see if the body agrees or disagrees.
It is okay to feel ashamed. It is okay to feel ashamed. Yeah, there's some tremoring happening. So I'm letting it. I'm just
Good.
allowing it.
Good. And if it's okay to feel the shame and the tremoring,
Yeah.
total permission, just feel it. There's no resistance to that, no repressing there. That's fine.
I've been doing a lot of theory, so I guess my body's used to shaking.
Mine too. My body does a lot of strange stuff when I'm doing repression work.
Yeah, there's some pictures and words coming in, and then I can just put them in front of me.
Mhm.
Oh. Welcome.
Let's see if shame expression is repressed while you're feeling that.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine mom and dad or your son or some children, I can let them see my shame. I can express this, or I can let them see this. See what happens.
Okay, so I'm pulling up my parents and my kids. There's okay with my kids, not okay with my parents.
Where do you notice that in the body?
And my throat.
Throat, right there. So just stay with that for a moment, that no, just that resistance or that no, and see what it would say.
Okay.
Hide this, don't show this, you can't, whatever it might be.
There's nothing. So just rest with the no.
Yeah, even just stay with the no, just like even verbally or silently, just stay with the no. I'm just double checking some of Scott's instructions here to see if I'm missing something. Yeah, we could try this with the shame. I'm not ashamed to be mean, vengeful, or ruthless.
I am not ashamed to be mean, vengeful, and ruthless. Ew.
Ew. Yes, I am.
Yes, I am.
Okay. I want you to come back to go to that ooh and just like, yeah, I'm ashamed. Shame.
Yes.
And just start repeating that. I'm ashamed again.
I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed.
If it's already showing you a don't do it or something like that, you can work with the command instead.
Don't. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't.
Send that in. You got it.
Don't.
Where are you sending it? Where in the body?
Oh, still in my throat and my chest.
Okay, good.
It has shifted from my stomach upwards.
Okay. Give us a little energy update. What's it doing? Any change?
It seems like to be shifting in something more intense, like terror, like this, like recognizing this capacity. And I don't want that capacity.
Ah. So I want you to work with don't, or I don't, what did you say? I don't want this capacity?
Yeah.
Said? Yeah, because what would it mean about you if you had the capacity?
If I would have the capacity to destroy him like my dad.
I'm like my dad. Yeah. This is the essence of shadow work. Yeah. I can be just like him. What happens when you say that?
It is a big fat no, I didn't already. I didn't even need to say it.
Yeah. All right. And so are you getting the gist of this?
Yeah, I'm getting it.
Are you getting the gist of like where you were getting hung up? There was already a command right there. And then you can just use those instructions that are to just keep meeting. Like when an emotion came, I just had you meet it with mirroring first, just to get those emotional waters churned up, heighten that emotional, really connect with it. And then I can fully feel this. Now, sometimes we use mirroring to an emotion to regulate it, to settle it down. That's okay too. But when you're in the midst of this and we're wanting to find the repressed material, I'll have you churn it up and then, okay, it's okay to fully feel this. Okay, yeah, so good. Feel it for a bit, maybe for a lot. And then I can let them see me like this. And there was no. And then when, especially as you kept going, if I have the capacity to be like this, I'll be just like him. And that's it. That's the shadow work. Like you could do it on anybody. Donald Trump. I can be just like Donald Trump. No, and just go for it. No. And you might have to see some of the because why, because he's this or he's that, whatever might come from the shiny nickels, the things that come up in images or words that come, just let them keep coming through. You don't need to fixate on everything, but yeah, you did great.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing this in front of all of us. I know it's a vulnerable space to be in, but that was
Thank you,
great.
Darby. I feel a little bit of shame doing this, seeing it so clearly with clients, and then I'm in the thick of it and I can't see it myself.
It happens, and so take it easy on yourself. It's repression because it's meant to not be found.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Yeah, sure. And it's also, a lot of us find that it's easier with a facilitator than on our own. A lot of us find that. And once in a while, I'm able to successfully take myself really deep and sort of, let's say, complete a repression session on myself. But most of the time, I can just bounce out. It's just like, woof, so yeah, let it be okay.
Yeah, thank you. My ego is a tricky one too, bouncing like a monkey.
Not just yours.
Yeah, collective egos. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Good job.
Can I just say something in response? I know, I just
hey, Margaret.
Just say your bravery
about
doing this, and how, like, by you opening it up, it feels like it's easier for me to open it up. So I just wanted to share that.
It's great. Okay. So, Deborah, I hope you're up to speed now. I'm just going through the chat a little bit. Claudia, you said, this was several minutes ago, you said she didn't share it. Did you get what you needed there?
I was just asking how old her son was. When I came in a little late. This is Margaret. That's
Oh yeah, I saw that, Margaret. I figured you saw that. We didn't get into that because it wasn't quite the point. The point was the behavior of the son. But
no, I understand. It's just sometimes
need to know right now. I don't know if she wants to tell, but
I don't know. I just was curious because it's a different dynamic if he's 10 versus if he's 17. So that's all.
Okay. Yeah, so if you feel like sharing that, you can.
I did in the chat. That's fine. They're 10 and 11.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah. Okay, thanks. Okay, so that was my best shot at at applying what Scott's pointing at here without having tried it on myself first or worked on it with somebody first and kind of getting my sea legs with what he's pointing at. So bear with me, everybody, if I was a little clumsy, but anybody have any other questions about this process or anything else to do with your practice or tools or skillfulness right off?
Hi.
Yay.
Hi, Darby. I just started to work on repression.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had a lot of this fear and anger that didn't come out yet, but just now, a lot of shame is coming out. Just like so many layers of shame.
Yeah.
And it just like, it happened again, this week I said I won't go to work because I couldn't be so authentic and I was so ashamed of it, and now just shame coming.
Yeah, this is very familiar to me, Eva, because when I finally it was time to kind of meet the Darby shame. There's a lot of resistance that we can hit up against because it's just it can be so uncomfortable. Deborah mentioned a week or two ago about, maybe it was more than that, but not much more than that, about normalizing shame. I don't know if this will help you today, but just maybe contemplate it, that everybody's got it. I mean, there may be a few individuals in the world who don't do emotions, period, so they don't do shame. But for the rest of us, we all have it. And so she was coming from a place of why don't we normalize this thing that's so normal, but just, nobody wants to talk about it because it's so uncomfortable. But if we come to realize that shame is it's normal part of the human condition and the experience here, maybe not, it might make touching into it and beginning to process it a little bit easier. I don't know. I moved through mine and continue to when it arises. Before that concept was handed down by Deborah, but I was like gobsmacked by the thought of it. Oh yeah, why don't we just normalize this? That may be easier said than done, depending on what people's shame is about. But if I were you, I would just start working with mind-body mirroring. Just, I feel ashamed, or I am ashamed. And I think if I understand correctly, Scott likes us to use I am, because it gets us witnessing the identity that believes itself to be shameful or that is ashamed. And then the layers of Velcro can start coming up and it can be met and worked with.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, it is normal. It is like
yeah.
Sometimes we have to be ashamed because some things are not like that we do are not okay. So shame must come.
Yeah, until it's not needed anymore, because the things that we've done that we feel ashamed of or haven't done that we should have, and we're ashamed of that, whatever that is, that can be fully met, fully, let's say, processed, for lack of a better word, where it doesn't trigger us anymore. It's possible, but you wouldn't know it when you're on this side of it. It kind of looks like an impossible mountain to get over, but so yeah, if I would suggest simple mind-body mirroring with all that shame right now, Eva, and just keep sending those words into that feeling and letting the words, pictures, and emotions rise and be felt and met. And I know there can be a tendency to, when an image or memories start to come, to get really caught up in those, and just remember what you're doing. We're not getting caught up. We're not going to latch on to shiny things. We're going to notice this one came, and just stay with the mirroring, just stay with sending those words into the shame. If there's something that's quite sticky, pause all of the repetition and just tap, pulling your awareness off of the sticky stuff, and just tap, or use tracking, or use any kind of focus shifting to notice the distance between you and that sticky material. And then you can come right back into mirroring again. This is what I would suggest right off the cuff without knowing a whole lot more about the situation.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice to see you, Eva.
Yeah, you too.
The tools also, I don't know if you're aware, but the repression tools are much more refined, much sharper than when I met you last year. So you're in for a treat if you're able to take it step by step and learn them and practice them.
Yeah, thanks.
Sure.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Anyone else want to share anything or ask a question or need help with a tool? Oh, Paige, what is mirroring in third dimension work? I have an idea, but I'm not certain. Okay. So let's all do it if you can access an emotional sensation right now. So I'm just going to check in, and I have a sensation in my solar plexus or stomach. And because I don't have something that's already up, I'm just going to try to figure out what this is for a second, so I can demonstrate this, and then you guys can do it also. I'm not sad. No, I'm not scared. I'm using vulnerability inquiry to find out what this is. I'm not scared. I'm not ashamed. I'm not angry. There's some kind of response there. I'm not angry. I'm not nervous. Sounds like it's nervousness, actually. So I would just start sending in, I'm nervous, right into wherever the nervousness is felt. I'm nervous, I'm nervous, I'm nervous, I'm nervous. And all I'm doing, it's called mind-body mirroring because, and it doesn't have to just be with emotions, you guys. It can be with all kinds of things. I'll talk about that more in a second. But the idea of it is that the things that got stuck in the body, a part of why they might have gotten stuck in the body or stuck in our experience and not processed and not allowed to move through, is because they've been cut, let's say, or disconnected from the mind. So whatever they are connected to, there's been a disconnection, things have been shoved in the body. And so mind-body mirroring is going, what is this? Oh, it's nervousness. I'm nervous. I'm nervous. So I'm reconnecting the body and the mind together, this feeling in my solar plexus with the words, I'm nervous. And that can actually touch into the nervousness and allow it to even come forward more, like come up more. I can feel it more. And in that, it can be just moved through my experience and dissolve. Or if it's churning up a bit, as I like to say, but it's kind of staying, it might turn into something like I can feel and express this nervousness to my mother or father. And maybe there's a no. Don't let them see that I'm nervous. Don't let them see that I'm nervous. Something like that. Or it could lead to something next when we use whatever tool is necessary next. So, sorry, just to be clear, it's mind-body mirroring because we're connecting the mind to what's happening in the body. Emotions are just one way to do that, and I'll get to the rest in a minute. And we just repeat and just send it in, and we're being a perfect mirror for that energy. Sometimes even how I do it is not from a place of rapid fire, but simply fully meeting that energy, the words that it is, or the emotion that it is. I say, I'm nervous, and I am just meeting it perfectly, just as it is. I'm not meeting it from awareness, or I am, but I mean, I'm also being a perfect mirror for it. And so sometimes that alone is enough to really regulate it and relax it, and then it can just fall away. So there are people in the KI community who are using that on emotions and all kinds of things all the time. It's their go-to now. They'll just go right into mind-body mirroring, especially if they're at work or they're in situations where they can't do a whole KI process. They'll just do that just to regulate their system and just to meet and accept and allow and eventually dissolve the thing that is arising. So that's there for you. Is that pretty clear? I'll get to the other part in a minute, but anybody have a question about what I just described? And
yeah, can I just repeat it back to you to make sure I've understood?
yeah,
So it's like the body has some emotion or feeling or contraction or whatever, and the mirror is like, as if, I mean, if you're looking in a real mirror, the body is showing you something, and the mirror is what the mind is reflecting back that matches what the body is saying.
that's a way of saying it. And I'm going to engage, I like to do it out loud. So I also engage my voice to match the body, mind, to bring it all together and do, does that make sense?
So, yeah. So like I was feeling contraction in my head, like feeling like it was squeezed in a vice.
Yeah.
And then I find what the words are that would go with that, and then I sort of say them and rapid fire them. That's mind body mirroring in a nutshell.
Yeah. And so do you have that feeling in your head right now, or was that just an example?
Well, I did when you were kind of leading us through it a minute ago. That was the sensation.
Okay. So besides, and it's not here now, right, Paige? That's
Not at this exact second, no.
okay, that's fine. If it was, we would just go into it for a second, but
Well,
yes.
it would take me like a split second to conjure it back up, because it's
It's up to you.
it's definitely been What I felt it in my head, because you said just check in with what your body is saying, and I felt that it's very familiar. But I wasn't fully able to come up with words. Like I couldn't tell if it was sadness or fear or anger or hurt, or like it was almost overwhelming. So I couldn't narrow it down to just one phrase.
Yeah. I might have even overcomplicated that, because you could do as simply as, what is this sensation already saying? And see what words come. So if you're able to conjure the feeling back up, I don't want to incite suffering, but if you want to see what's there, we can even just do that. This is the other way you mind body mirroring, you guys. Yeah, go ahead, Paige.
Yeah, I could feel it somatically, but I couldn't narrow it down to, I mean, there was like a whole list of words, which maybe is a panorama or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
I
Were
don't.
they emotions, or were they words like, I hate this, or I'm miserable?
They were all
emotions.
Yeah.
Emotions can bundle, so I wouldn't even deter you from saying, like, I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm ashamed. I'm sad, angry, frustrated, ashamed. Because what'll happen when you start mirroring back that barrage of emotions, or that collective of emotions, just by doing that, one, maybe two, maybe all but one will dissolve, being met just by connecting the body mind. So usually like a couple will dissolve and you've just got two left or one left that seems to be real sticky. And that's when we keep sending in, just keep matching the words to that energy. Just so you know, next time you can do it that way.
Yeah, that's super helpful. Okay, that really quite a lot. Thank you.
Good. So yeah, I said this in past meetings, but I'll just bring it up, that it could be that the sensation in my solar plexus was simply saying, like, I don't want to call that woman back. I don't want to call that woman back. So I would just mirror that. I don't want to call that woman back. Yeah, I don't want to call that woman back. I don't want to call her back. I don't want to call her back. And I would just send that in, because just doing that, usually it can either dissolve, or what usually happens is it'll bring up yeah, I'm enraged and I don't want to call her back because I want to express this rage to her. And I don't want to do that to somebody I don't know very well, or whatever the story is, right? Or I don't want to call her back because she, irritates the fuck out of me. Like whatever is in there. Okay, I'm irritated. I can feel and express this irritation. No. And there's my repression. If there's a no. If there's a yes, let me express it, even just sitting here in the space of a session, let alone to her in person. But that was a real quick run through of mind body mirroring and what it can lead to, whether it's an emotion, whether it's a statement. Sometimes it's just a sound. Sometimes it's just like a, so just have the person or me just repeat, until something else emerges, or until the whole thing just dissolves or collapses. Oh, thanks, Paige.
This is all interesting, Darby, because I had a situation last night with my daughter. She was, she gets upset, right? But then she doesn't want to tell us why she's upset. And I quite don't know if she's like sad or angry, or maybe a mixture of all of that. And so I sat her down and I was like, we're going to look at this, right? And she was so resistant on, she didn't want to do it. And there's not really much I can do until she's ready, right? But I have a feeling that she likes to repress her emotions, and I guess I'm struggling a bit on how to help her without having to push her, Yeah. Because she's only 8. So for her, it's scary to feel those big emotions.
Well, one thing you can try, although I don't know, who knows what it is that she needs, but one thing, do you face her directly when you're in these moments with her? Because it's possible that if she could turn and face away, or not have to face you directly, she might be able to follow some of your cues or talk or mirror or something like that instead of,
Yeah, maybe if we like go in her bedroom and turn the lights off, you know, where she feels safer, right? Maybe that work. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, this is something in therapy offices that's known that sometimes we come across, I'm not a therapist, but sometimes they come across territory where the person, if the therapist is looking directly, they can't continue. But if the therapist will avert their eyes or turn their chair, then the person can talk about it.
Well, yeah, because she has both parents looking at her, right?
Oh yeah, a lot of
And
pressure.
so she doesn't want to, yeah. But you know, she did say she was angry and this and that, but she didn't want to feel it is the thing. So
Yeah. Well, and there's also, if there's shame somewhere connected in there, nobody wants to feel shame. It's a horrible, horrible feeling. So it can be that, you know, I know for me, when I might be able to tell one of my parents my feelings, but not that one. If I was ashamed, I had to go through it alone because I couldn't even remotely go near that emotion on my own, let alone with a parent looking at me. Like it feels like I would feel so much more ashamed. It might have gone the other way. They might have supported me or given me relief or held me, but it didn't. I did not expect that, because what I thought my parents would do was shame me more, and I wouldn't even test it to see, because
oh, there's an in. So I can say, you know, maybe if you're ashamed of how you're feeling, it's perfectly fine to be ashamed. Maybe I can get her to soften up that a little bit that way, right? Yeah,
yeah, even like I feel shame sometimes too. You know, it's hard. You know,
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Darby.
let us know how it goes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet. Did somebody else have a question or? Okay.
Darby, I just wanted to say with what Taz was sharing about her daughter, that sometimes with kids, it helps to let them have a little distance from their mind by helping them learn to go into their body. They might be able to see it as not so much themselves. And so it can be a little easier for them to reach it and share it. Like if we guide them to feel into their body and say, what is the body saying?
Mm,
House probably already knows that.
interesting.
Well, just to get her to do that would be a little struggle. So I don't know. I guess maybe today it might work better, but then that feeling's not there anymore. So who knows?
Yeah, well, even like where is she feeling it in her body? Is it her tummy?
Right,
know
right.
it's
I
her heart.
asked her that. But she's
Yeah.
like, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Shut down.
Yeah.
Well, it's also, I mean, it's a process of differentiating herself from you, right? So I think there's this challenge of the dance back and forth, and at 8, it's like starting to be, what can she handle on her own, and what can she process on her own, and when does she really need some support from, and it may not be a parent that's the best person, but you know, it's like sometimes later you can come back and say, oh, I wonder what you were so upset about, and then she can talk about it. I don't know. I'm just knowing, for me, my parents were very unsafe, so I would never have shared, but there's also a process as you get older of what can you work out on your own, where do you need help, who's the right resource.
Yeah.
That occurs to me.
Well, and kids can also be afraid of looking bad in their parents' eyes. They don't want to look bad in your eyes. So if they, do you know what I mean?
Oh, she's definitely the good girl. Has the good girl syndrome, and we're always like, please do something that, be a rebel, do something that is bad.
Yeah.
Please.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay.
Oh.
We're trying. So, but she's great, you know, she's able to express her emotions, but when it comes to anger or that sort of thing, it's a little harder for her. So
yeah. Thanks, Taz. Any other questions or tools anybody needs some support with? Anybody else want to do a process? Oh, wow. I was just reading what you wrote, that's amazing. Yeah. Okay, are we done early today? It's okay to be done early. Too bad it's not a Friday.
Darby,
Yeah.
can I ask a question that may or may not be more general? I've been doing the KI and the membership and the like a bunch of one-on-ones for about 3 months now.
Mhm.
And I'm finding that my personal life is getting more and more challenging. And I feel like it might be because I've like been trying to open up my emotions and feel my repressed stuff. And it feels like it's kind of leaking into my, my life.
Yeah.
And I'm trying not to shut it down again because that was my go-to. But I'm also super aware that it's, none of the people outside of me it's nobody's fault. If I get triggered, I immediately know it's my stuff. And I'm just wondering if you have any experience with watching people when they're getting started and really digging into the third dimension work, just advice or anything just about how to navigate your life when you're trying to open your repressed stuff up, but also not open it up on the outside to poor innocent people who haven't deserved to experience that because they didn't sign up for it.
Yeah. Well, without knowing more details, the first thing that I can say from my own experience is, and this was actually the advice bye Claudia, thank you. This was actually from Dan McClintock, said to me when I was embarking on my anger repression work. He said, let your loved ones and coworkers know that you're working on freeing some repressed emotions. And so if you're a little salty and a little edgy and crunchy, that it's not personal to them, it's not them, it's something that you're working through, and my facilitator tells me it'll be temporary, but I might be a little edgy for a while. And so that's what I did, is I just let the people who needed to know that this is what I was doing, and that if I seem like I'm not quite the me that that's why. It's a process I'm working through, and they tell me that it'll be a phase. And it's usually fairly short unless we're not skillful or not getting skillful help with the process. So yeah, but anybody else though who is starting to cross the repression barrier in one area or another want to weigh in on this?
Yeah, Darby. When I started working on this, and it was more of anger repression, I remember my wife coming to me and saying, I thought you were doing this deep work. I thought you'd be better.
God dang it.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And I said, well, this is a process and I'm working through stuff, and it's, it's not going to be like this forever. And I didn't even get that, unfortunately, that advice that you got from Dan. So I was just trying to work it out on my own. So but I did see that, I was going through some turmoil, even through like dealing with relationships, dealing with the kids, dealing with my wife, and, just the big picture in general. And then having to deal with my own emotions that were coming up. So I think it's perfectly normal and it's to be expected. So take a lot of time to ground yourself and do things to take care of yourself in the process. That is what I had to do.
Yeah. Thank you. Good. Deborah, do you want to say something, or Sumitra wanted to speak up? Go ahead, Sumitra.
I'll let Deborah go.
Okay, Deborah.
When I first started, it wasn't just anger, it was annihilating rage. And I basically try to keep myself away from people to protect them. I mean, everybody at work was kind of walking on eggshells around me because they didn't know what Deborah they were going to get. One minute I'm just blowing up, and the next minute I'm going back and apologizing. And, you know, people are understanding up to a point, and then keeps happening. It's a little, but the one thing that I would say, if it's any source of consolation, is realize not only is it normal, but if you've been holding it down for decades and decades, and there's a lot there that has never been allowed out. It's pressurized. It's like ready to blow. So, but what I found was doing this work actually shortened that whole process so much more quickly. It's like taking anybody who's ever cooked with a pressure cooker, it's similar to that. You know how you allow some of the vent, you allow some of the steam to come out, and so it doesn't all just blow. And the more you really do this work, I found was then my fears were so unfounded because I let it out in a healthy way with working on it. Then being out in the world, it wasn't as scary, because what I thought was, this is never going to end. I'm just going to be this angry, rageful person and rage at everybody. But the more I allowed it to come up in safe ways, you know, a lot of times you're doing this work, but when you're by yourself too, knowing that it's, and then when your body starts to really realize that nobody's dead, there's no bodies, you know, it's safe, and your nervous system really starts to get that, then because it's almost like what I found is there's the anger or the rage, but then there's fear of the anger or the rage. It's like fear of, what is it going to do? Is it exactly? And then there can also, on top of that, we pile on shame over it. You know, is that like, oh no, I don't want to do that again. Now I have to go back and apologize. I've got to clean this up. You know, there was all that piled on, but the more you allow it up, when you can find a safe space to do so, it will shorten this process tremendously. And I know that for anybody who's first going through it, this may be something you kind of have to take a little bit on trust until you really start to experience it. But I can say that it was initially, it felt like, uh-oh, I opened Pandora's box, you know, like, but it really turned out not to be, you know, the mind is going to give you all these scary scenarios of what's going to happen.
Yeah. I also
So helpful, Deborah, thank you. It's like the mind didn't just open up Pandora's box. Pandora took over my life and got in touch with all my friends and told them to open up their box too. And it's like the whole universe is like making me face all my greatest fears. And, you know, like it's just been gnarly AF.
Yeah. And it can feel totally out of control. And that's because we've been controlling it for all these decades. We've been like stuffing it down, holding it down, trying to hold that beach ball under the water and just hold it, hold it, hold it. And at some point it's going to come out one way or another, either in our body, you know, in terms of our health, or in relationships, because it seeps out in other ways. The best thing is to just let it come out, you know, and it's not a straight line process, but like I said, if you trust yourself with it and do it in a, you know, where you can kind of find a safe place. I don't recommend doing it in the car, by the way. I learned that hard. But doing it where, especially when you can be alone and really work through some of this, even if it, where you can scream loud and not have to worry about anybody hearing you, it just can help. And when you do have partners, like Darby was saying, to just kind of give them a heads up. They may actually thank you for doing it because, you're going to end up being an easier person to be around.
Yeah, it's not unheard of that the partners or family members are like, we've been wanting to see this side of you, like, and you, to our shock and awe, and so that can happen too. And also it doesn't hurt if you need this, it doesn't hurt to do inquiry on, I don't mind if they don't like me. I don't mind being hated, and soften that terrain, because if there's a lot of resistance or worry that no one's going to want to be around me, I'm not going to be liked, I'm going to lose everybody, they're going to hate me, then that can be that can be at odds with everything that Deborah just described, of giving yourself the space and the and allowing, and etc. If that's what awaits you by letting it eke out and that little pressure valve, letting some of it eke out. So when we don't have so much invested in being liked, it makes the process also, in my experience, much softer. So that can be taken to regular KI inquiry if you want to. And it's worth doing. Sumitra, do you still have something you wanted to share?
I don't know if you want me to even get started. Just listening, excuse me. Just listening to you all and tuning into my own body. Talk about decades of repression. I'm 80 years old now. And I was a single mom. I still am. And I'm now dealing with my two oldest kids. My oldest son is 60. And I've been here in Hawaii for a couple of years. My voice is really difficult now with all the energy.
Yeah, it's okay, Sumitra. Take your time.
Yeah, I have 4 kids, and I've been responsible, my whole adult life for taking care of other people and needing to earn a living. And I think I heard last week that Scott was talking about getting back into working with chronic illness, with repression, because it hasn't been such a big thing. Lately, it's been more, learning to use the repression tools with other things. But as you can hear in my voice, I have a voice disorder now, a vocal cord disorder, as well as shortness of breath. And it's very much connected with my emotions around don't speak, repressing my voice. It's not okay to be me. And it's so, some of it has already come up and has been wonderful to learn to express it. And a lot of it I can feel is still in there, and it's shaking, trying to come out. And a sense of that there's nowhere on the planet that's strong enough to support me in doing that. It's so big,
Yeah.
Anyway, it's good for me to just say that at this point. I'm trying to learn to speak again and find my own power.
Good.
And I'm moving back to the mainland in a few weeks to pursue taking care of my voice, letting my boys take over their own lives.
Where are you going to be moving to, Sumitra?
To Eugene, Oregon.
Okay. Somehow I thought you'd already moved back there, but good. Are you glad to be returning?
No, I'm scared.
Okay.
I'm very emotional. I just made the reservations last night.
Oh, wow.
So I have a lot to do.
Do you have people there or nearby? Good. Good. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. I remember when it was before KI, and I was in my plant medicine work, and I was way in my plant medicine work. So I was desperate to get healing. And it was the first time I came across this, that there's no one I can trust. There's no place I can trust. And it was crushing. It was, I thought as I was, being with it, and I was being shown what I was being shown, I scanned the whole world we live in, everybody I knew, every person I'd ever met, every family member. And it felt true at the time, but there was no one, nowhere, no one I could trust, fully trust. And there's no one that wouldn't turn their back on me, right? Like there's something I can do that they'll change their mind about me. And so there was no one that would never give up on me. Except me. I was the only one. And I was like, oh, wait, there's me. Anyway, so I'm glad you're making a move in your favor and in the favor of your voice. And I only share that because I've been in some kind of similar energy of nowhere is safe, or in my case, there's nowhere I can trust. And but there was one place, and so I just started there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's even more like I'm gonna destroy whoever I express it to, because it's too much for anyone to handle.
Who's that familiar to? Anyone have that in their journey with anger or rage or anything? Like it's too much for whoever it's going to receive it? Yeah, this is so common. I just want to let you know that, Sumitra, not to diminish, but to normalize that experience of like, yeah, it felt like they can't handle what will come up, so I can't let it out. Yeah.
And it's true. It's really me. I was afraid I can't handle it.
Well,
yeah.
And there might be some people who can't handle it. That might be what you bump into. You know what I mean? It's just so common.
Right. Yeah, it can feel like a volcano inside.
Totally. Yep. Yeah. Well, let us know how we can support you. If you need, sessions, if you need partners you can trust to work with it, or if you're just taking it at your own pace, that's fine too. But once you get settled and everything. And of course, in the space of these meetings, we'll be doing practice, doing some processing and facilitating and stuff. So that's good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All of you.
Can I just share a little something with Sumitra?
Hey, Darlene. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I don't know you, Sumitra, but I've seen you. I haven't been able to come to your meetings on Mondays because I work at night, but all your posts, I always felt like such a soft heart mother. And I was a single mom with 3 daughters for decades myself, and had chronic pain for a long time. And but what I felt when I would read your posts all the time is so safe. So there's something there that's so precious. Yeah. I just had to say that because
thank you.
That was just beautiful what you shared. Thank you.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you, Darby.
Thanks, Darlene. Yeah.
Such a sense of I have to hold it all together.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And who would we be if we didn't anymore, right? That's half the battle right there, is the identity doesn't, it's like, what, this is all I know, and yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing this work for 10 years now, and I just so highly recommend it to everyone. It's so amazing. It's helped me so much.
Yeah.
And we've all started with the basic level tools, right? And the people that are just coming in, they want to go right into where we are here. I think that's a lot to ask for, right?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That's a really big expectation. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's where a lot of people are trying to get to really fast, and it's not going to work out very well.
Yeah. They come from a lot of other mindfulness practices or whatever. If they've got some background skills, that's different. But if they're, yeah, that's a big leap. Yeah. It doesn't seem like it'd be that big of a big leap, because it seems like it's just some tools. So you just learn the tools, and then you just learn some skillfulness with the tools. And then when you get into it, you're just like, holy shit, what is this? You know, why am I so dysregulated? Why can't I function suddenly? Yeah.
So much of what we do is counterintuitive because it goes against everything we're so used to doing, the way we've always done it.
Yeah.
I think that's what really makes it sometimes challenging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, anything else, anyone? Mm-hmm. Feel free, as I said in the last meeting, to message me with topics or things that you'd like to look at in the upcoming. You can always bring them up in the Monday meetings as well, but you can message me in advance if it's something that you want to give me a heads up about, or if you would like to be facilitated in the meeting or something like that. Pam, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to say something. I had something come up yesterday, and it was, well, in the past few days, about shame. And I wrote it down. Oh, so the messages I got growing up were, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. Who do you think you are? You'll never amount to anything. So I was looking at that, and then I turned it into I statements. I ought to be ashamed of myself. Who do I think I am? I'll never amount to anything. And I've been running it. And oh my God, it's been powerful. And that, what Taz was just saying, that goes totally against everything I've been taught. Think positive, you know, all that stuff. Don't go there. And going there, it's big and strong and all that. And so that little voice in the back of my head says, don't go there, because you're supposed to be positive. And if you say be ashamed of yourself, then you're, anyway. So I just wanted to put that out there. And I also want to give Sumitra a big loving hug. I adore you and I appreciate you. And I'm sorry you're moving. Well, I'm really glad you're moving back. And I'm sorry you're moving the women's group to Tuesdays. So anyway.
Thank you, Pam. Yeah, that was really great. The I, turning it to I, and what can come up from that. We fear, some people who've come from a strong background in law of attraction. Oh, you don't want to say that because you don't want to manifest more of it, or, you know, all kinds of stuff can come up. But you're seeing by doing it, you know, how many layers of Velcro for one thing can start coming off. But also the way that well, I'll leave that aside for another meeting, actually, because that would be too big of a topic. But yeah, thank you, Pam. That counterintuitive approach is just, once we really like get that, then you can just start getting really creative with the tools.
I really appreciate.
Go ahead.
Oh, I really appreciate you speaking to that, Darby and Pam, about that I thought and just phrasing it that way. I actually asked a question today in the level 2 chat, something Toshi had posted, and I was like, should we phrase it with the I, and is it different, you know, and haven't had a response. So I appreciate that you were speaking to it, because it feels that way to me too, that, you know, part of this whole non-dual thing is recognizing our attachment to that identity, and unhooking it. So I think it's important to phrase it how we phrase it, and, you know, what we conceptualize as I. So thank you.
Well, and on the one hand, or on the one hand, we can do it the I, we can do it the you, and the you should be so ashamed of yourself, or you'll amount to nothing. That we can work with that. And like Tim Gallagher would say, that's a super ego attack. And who goes with that? Who reinforced that? And you can see the faces pop up, even if they never said the words. It's just in their eyes, or the way that they would ice us out, right? Be cold at the dinner table or whatever, you know, whatever. We can see who reinforced that that I should be ashamed of myself and I won't amount to anything. But when we take, so there's that side of it. But taking it in the I framework, not only can it bring up loads and loads of Velcro, and that can be lifted off of the structure, but you can also see the structure. When you repeat that, and you're repeating it from awareness, I mean, get a little sticky sometimes, but when you're doing this from awareness, you can witness the identity that has come to believe they're shameful and won't amount to anything. And there's so much compassion there when you catch that glimpse of it, and we can see that we're not that. But, and it's so sweet, and we see the innocence of in us, of all of it. But yeah, so there's two sides of that, right? Sort of like how it got reinforced, and then it got to where we don't even need them to say it, because we'll do it ourselves. But then when we take it on from awareness, we can see that identity. You want to say something, Pam?
That's just where I got to. I mean, it was pounded into me, but I'm the one that keeps it running. So they're long gone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one that's here and keeps it running. So it's got to be I in the end.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Now, somebody that was working with in this way, they found that as they were working with it, they would actually become, it felt so true. So they can very easily go into spacious awareness. And so as they would fire the I'm shameful, I'll amount to nothing, they'd fire it and it'd start to take on the shape of feeling true, feeling good. And it was almost like a loving of suffering. Like, oh, this feels good to just roll in the muck and know what a horrible being I am. And they said it would take on almost an addictive quality about it. And so beware of that. If that's happening, take breaks or stack in the opposite. Start doing some stacking or some backdoor stacking techniques to break the spell. So rest as awareness, or use some other tools to break the spell. And then this person is actually, because it's a real automatic tendency for this particular person, it might be maybe their Enneagram type, their personality type, or whatever trauma they went through that makes them have this strong addictive tendency toward hooking into this suffering instead of dissolving the repression dissolving, or the fixation dissolving. So they're developing their own technique around it, sort of using this same set of tools, but in the way they work with it, they're doing it in a different way so that they aren't hooking into that addictive quality. And they're having really nice results with it. So when, oops, I keep hitting my computer. So when I'm in a new, I'm changing my space and I'm not acclimated to it yet. So when he's practiced with it enough, he may share it with everybody, but it's kind of neat. So but keep that in mind if you work in that way. It's rare that happens for people, but just keep an eye out for that.
What would be backdoor stacking
I gotta
for
get rid of
this,
this.
for that?
I gotta get rid of this. I gotta get rid of this. I gotta get rid of this. No, I gotta keep this. I need this. I need this. I need this. Yeah. Is that pretty clear, Pam? Okay.
That gets to the utility. Why,
I
you
need
know,
this.
it's like this identity. I need this. I want to keep my suffering. It's giving me something.
Yeah. It's usually pretty easy to see when you, is that what you're saying, Deborah, that when you do the backdoor stacking, it can take you right to, no, I need this. It keeps me safe. No, I need this.
Yeah.
Connection.
Yeah. Especially when it feels so true. It's like, it feels like a fact, like it's just a fact, not a story, you know, and that identity, there's a reason we keep it. It's giving us something, even though it may not be real apparent. But having worked with victim and suffering a lot, I actually found like 5 or 6 different utilities. I was like, holy shit, no wonder I've been holding on to this so much.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
I can't always tell if I'm identifying. I mean, I'm a 4 on the Enneagram, and so yeah, I love to suffer too, but so I can't always tell if I'm like, you know, it hurts so good, or if I'm actually working through something. I mean, do you know the difference?
When you're hooking into suffering and believing it, or when you're working through something? Well, for me, I don't know, maybe we'll hear from a few other people on this, but for me, when it's not, when the energy isn't changing. So if I'm really hooked into something that I'm noticing, I can be aware of it too, but I'm not in spacious awareness. I'm in the messiness of it, but the energy's moving, changing, softening a little bit around the edges, whatever. When there's some change happening, that for me, generally, that tells me I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I might do some stacking or something else, but I'm all right. This is, the tools are doing what they're meant to do. When nothing's changing and it's super stuck, super tight, or it's just nothing's really changing, that's when I will try some other tools, because maybe I'm not seeing how true this feels, or it's just a very, very sticky identity. So, but anybody else want to chime in on that?
Pam, I can just say, oh my gosh, I totally get what you're saying. I'm also a 4, but I am so addicted and so identified and attached to my suffering. It's ridiculous. And I can see it, but like you say, Darby, I'm like right in it while I'm also seeing it. I'm not seeing it from, you know, natural rest or awareness. I'm seeing it from way too deep in it, and definitely identified with it, and trying to work, you know, trying to do the work as well, and maybe like 5% softening on the edges here and there, but still in it.
Well, the person that's kind of creating his own technique within the tool set, I think he's also Enneagram 4, and that might have something to do with why he's needing to create something that works a little differently with the energies, different tempo and stuff. So if he does find that it's consistently useful and wants to introduce it, I'll bring him into one of these meetings, see if he'll demo it or see what's possible with this. Yeah. I think he's just exploring it right now to see if he really has something, or if it's just for him, you know, if it only works on him. So, yeah. Okay. Should we wrap it up here? Anything else, anybody? Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Darby.
Thank you, Darby.
You're welcome. Back at you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Darby.
You.
See you guys next Monday.
Thank you
Bye.
so much.